What's shaking, Fire Nation? JLD here with a masterclass on cost reduction and reducing credit card merchant fees. Such a valuable topic. Not super sexy, but super valuable, putting money back in your pocket, Fire Nation. To drop these value bombs, we have brought Matt Ray on the mic. And if you're paying too much in credit card processing fees, Merchant Cost Consulting reduces, audits, and alleviates the merchant fees you pay. We are currently using them right now and saving hundreds of dollars a month. And that adds up, Fire Nation. It's essentially free money. So we're going to be talking about the payments industry, the deception, the tactics, how they work, the misconceptions about everything in this industry, case studies, and so much more as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors. Fire Nation, you can't make consistent revenue if you don't have a funnel that converts. Join the founder of ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, for a free masterclass to learn the 3 secrets that will ignite your revenue in 2020. Register today at eofire.com/secrets. That's eofire.com/secrets. Matt, say what's up to Fire Nation and share something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Fire Nation, what's going on? My name's Matt Ray. Yeah, I just wanted to share one interesting fact, I guess, is that my family is actually somewhere down the line related to Al Capone.
What?
Which I thought was pretty interesting. How that is to be is by an FBI background check. They did that probably about 20 years ago. I had to double check and confirm with my father before putting that on the air, but it is confirmed. So
that's, by the way, how I would introduce myself to everybody. Be like, hey, my name is Matt Ray. And oh, by the way, like I'm related to Al Capone. Like no big deal, but just so you know, I'm related to Al Capone. And Fire Nation, right. As I shared at the top of this episode, we're going to talk all about cost reduction and reducing your credit card merchant fees. These are a plague for so many people for so many reasons, Fire Nation, because it's literally money that is not coming your way, that literally could be coming your way. It's like disappearing money, and it can so easily be fixed. In fact, we have a couple of case studies we're going to be diving into later, specifically one for entrepreneurs on fire, which is why I was like, Matt, you just saved me hundreds of dollars per month. Let's get you on the show. Let's talk about it. I want to save Fire Nation money as well. So before we get into all of that jazz, break down your business specifically to Fire Nation.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we are a cost reduction firm, and we're specific to reducing and auditing credit card merchant fees for our clients without them having to change their current payment processor, the software they use, billing system, whatever it may be. Everything stays the exact same. And the biggest misconception is that we are not a payment processor, but simply the cost reduction firm. And what we do is essentially analyze your payment processing statements, how you accept the cards, and we go through it and comb and fine tune to where you can optimize how you're taking the payments, alleviate hidden fees, overcharges, excess costs within credit card processing. And how it works and how we're compensated is we strictly are performance-based, meaning we share the savings we obtain our clients. That's it. There's no hourly consulting fee. There's no retainer or anything like that. It's if we're able to perform and obtain savings for our clients agree to just share whatever it is that we're able to save. That's it. So we kind of have to walk the walk and put our money where our mouth is to actually find savings before we even get a penny, which is the beauty of the service.
And that's what I loved when you reached out and contacted me, because you're like, listen, John, I'm not going to charge you an upfront fee. I'm not going to charge you an hourly rate to figure this out to see if this is going to work for you. I'm just going to do the work for you. If I can save you hundreds of dollars per month, or maybe even more, like I'm going to take you the numbers. And then if you want me to implement that, then I'll take my fee out of that. So guess what? It's going to be found money for you. Because Fire Nation, if I'm like, hey, listen, check it out. I'm going to find a way to save you $500 a month. My fee for that's going to be $250 per month. But guess what? You're still obviously in the green, $250 per month. And that's if I can make it happen for you. It's an absolute no-brainer. So I could have not taken Matt up on this and just continued going forward, losing the hundreds and hundreds of dollars per month that we're going to get into later that he was able to save for our business. Or I could have said, let's do this, buddy. Like, bring me the value and we're going to share in the rewards. We're going to share in the success. And, I don't want to tie too many things back to Al Capone, but, and I don't actually know too much about Al Capone, to be honest, but I do know that like during Prohibition, he was big. He was like, you know what? Screw the big corporations, screw the government. Like, I'm here for the people. We're going to make things happen for the people. And I don't have any illusions of grandeur, Fire Nation. My merchant credit card company could care less about me. They want to squeeze every penny they can out of me. That's all I am to them. Art is just a number on their massive, massive, massive spreadsheet. I'm like handcuffed for that. But armed with knowledge that Matt's providing, because he's an expert in the industry, I'm now saving hundreds of dollars per month. Not only that, but I'm knowing that I'm paying the absolute minimum, that I'm paying the very dollar amount that I have to pay, but not a penny more. And it's just a great, loving feeling. Because I've known for years, by the way, that I haven't been paying the lowest dollar amount, but I just didn't know if there was anything I could do. So Matt, bring us back to your beginning. How did you get started?
Went to school in Rhode Island, small college, Bryant University.
Right next to Providence College, my alma mater.
Right.
Holla.
That's right. Rhode Island, shout out.
Yeah.
My first job was actually working construction. I was doing it for a while. I had a buddy that was actually working in the city who had contacted me. It was actually my old roommate saying, hey, listen, I'm working at a credit card processing company here in Boston. It's good paying. I think it's worth your time. It's kind of a sales job. I was really actually unsure about it. I went in and interviewed, was sold right there on the interview, the office. It was beautiful and whatnot, and started the process. I had no idea what credit card processing was, how it worked. I was very raw getting into the industry, like everyone is, right? They don't really know what they're getting themselves into. But at the time, you're just looking for a good paying gig.
Totally.
Doing that, you realize how it all works, right? I'm essentially answering phones, having small, medium-sized businesses call in looking to get set up with credit card processing or switch from their current provider because they've been screwed over in the past. And you're giving them rates and fees that you're told to give them by your managers and your bosses, but you don't really know how it works. Well, when you work your way up the corporate ladder and you see how that works, you really peel back the layers of credit card processing. It's pretty deceptive, right? As a rep, you get paid by the higher you can set a business's rates, the more money goes into your pocket as the sales guy, right? And it's just deceptive because it's unregulated in the US. Like in Canada and Europe, it's a little bit more regulated, so it's less expensive. But in the US, it's almost like the wild, wild west. You can set rates wherever you want. And if the business thinks it's a good deal, then in their mind, it's a good deal. But as a sales rep, you could be making money hand over fist, and the business is paying over 4%, which it just didn't sit right with me. So I actually quit that job and went off and did something else. But a few years down the road, I had two colleagues that I used to work with at that company reach out to me saying, hey, we're starting this thing where we're going to leverage our knowledge of merchant services, and we're going to kind of flip the script a little bit. We can actually advocate for businesses by exposing these big credit card processing companies. Because when we were working there, we're always doing quotes. We were always breaking down statements. We knew how the pricing worked. And I said, you know what, this is perfect because so many people are getting taken advantage of that I knew right off the bat that it was an unbelievable idea. I said, yeah, absolutely. So I actually quit my job that I was doing at the time and started this, with nothing. We just said, we're going to leverage our knowledge, start calling people, leverage our resources and connections that we already had. And from there, it kind of took off. And it was great because once you get over the hump and the business realizes that you're not trying to change anything that they have in place, that they can just keep everything. Because that's the biggest thing, right? Like no one likes change. No one likes switching. And not to mention, like business owners get bombarded with solicitations, emails, phone calls of people saying, hey, like if you switch, I can save you, a bunch of money. But it's like, do I really want to switch? And do I really even know I'm going to get a good deal? Because this stuff's already confusing enough as it is, right?
And we've all heard like the horror stories of like the quote unquote switch happening and then like all of the payments being broken now. So like all those subscriptions and, referrals and all these things that were coming in are now just like not connected. And it's just like you have to do it one by one. And it's scary.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot, especially too if, you're a business that has like, let's just say a practice management software, something that does the bookkeeping, and that's connected with you taking credit cards, you'd have to change that too. And the headache and probably the money you would save by doing it probably isn't worth it. But if you could keep it all in one place and not have to change a single thing, but reduce the fees, it's like, whoa, what's the risk to do?
Yeah, and not to repeat myself, but Fire Nation was just like when Matt came to me, he's like, listen, nothing changes except I look over what you're currently paying, and then I make sure what you should be paying is this. And if there's a delta there, if there's an arbitrage there, then we're going to fix that. We're going to bring you down to the lowest amount that you should and can be paying. And then we'll split that benefit. We'll split that reward. And I just love that theory. I just love that way of operating, because Matt only wins and I only win if we're both able to win. And like, that's how it can be and that's how it should be. So let's kind of get into some details about the payments industry itself. I mean, there's deception there. There's underhanded tactics that happen. You've talked a little bit about that with your past business, but go into a little more depth there now that you've really gotten into the weeds on this. Share with us how it works, and then kind of like continue on with specifically what you do to counteract this.
The payment industry, obviously, everything is transitioned for the most part from cash to everyone carries the plastic in their wallet, or they have Google Pay, whatever it is on their phone, that they can just tap something in the store, they make a payment, and their credit card is charged, right? Payments is always changing, but what we do is pretty much consistent as far as how the rates and fees work. It doesn't matter, the medium that you're using to make a payment, whether it's a credit card, the Google Pay or whatnot, or like some app on your phone. What we're looking at is the rates and fees. In the payment industry, it's very confusing because you have acquiring banks, you have your commercial banks, you have your bank, then you have Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, the card brands, and then you have we call them ISOs, independent sales organizations, essentially, that are selling you the credit card processing. Those are where you're getting the solicitations from. You know what I mean? And those guys work for bigger payment processors. So the network and the landscape of how it works is really confusing. But to a business owner, how you want to look at it, you have these large payment processors. There's probably about 15 really, really big ones that hold a ton of market share within payments. First Data, now Fiserv is one. WorldPay, now FIS is another. You have Chase, you have Elevon, Global Payments, TSYS, Heartland, who are actually now part of Global Payments. Those are the big guys, right? And essentially what they do is they reach out to smaller sales offices that sell. They're called unregistered ISOs that sell credit card processing for different processors, these big guys. And they can sell, for 2, 3, 4 different processors if they want. They push whatever they get the best deal from. So if First Data gives them better pricing, they're probably going to sell more accounts for First Data than, let's just say, WorldPay or Elevon, right? So the solicitations that you get are coming from these small ISOs that are selling credit card processing. And how it all works and what makes it so deceptive is because of how competitive it is, that everyone's reaching out to you saying that they can save you money, but you have to switch. But the savings are very minimal. You might be getting 2.5% as your rate, and the next guy is quoting you 2.4%. You know what I mean? And to switch, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you're a business owner, you're looking to cut costs, and you've been down that rabbit hole where you have made the change, the reason why it's so deceptive is that maybe you do get savings by making that switch, but 3 months down the road, you're going to start to see your rates increase. You're going to start to see different fees popping up on your statements, auto enrollment costs, excess charges. I
mean, they are just banking on you being too busy and just not knowledgeable enough to catch these things.
Yeah, that too. I mean, it's difficult, right? It's like reading another language. It's like if hieroglyphics, we relate to it. And if you don't know where those fees are coming from, what they are, what's real, what's not, it's very deceptive. You don't know if you should be paying this or not, right? And that's what makes the payment industry so difficult to navigate, is because as a business owner, you have hundreds of other things to worry about: payroll, overhead, inventory. Credit card processing is important because it might be a large expense, but you have other expenses that you need to look at.
Yeah.
And to take the time out of your day to really get into the weeds of this stuff, educate yourself and learn it, it takes years to really understand it. You just don't have the time to do that.
I mean, Fire Nation, I've been processing literally millions of dollars a year for like 5 or 6 years now. I mean, and I've never taken the time, even though I've known that, even like a small decrease could add up, month over month, year over year to a lot of dollars. And like the number that Matt came back with me at, that we're going to be sharing later in the case study, like I didn't want to do the math. I don't want to multiply that number, by 12, 12 months a year, and then by 6, by the last 6 years. I mean, it's going to hurt, but better now than never. So Fire Nation, we're going to be talking about a lot. We're talking about specifically how Matt does it. We got a couple of case studies coming up as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors. How would you like the exact blueprint of what the top 1% of ClickFunnels users are doing differently that the other 99% are not? Well, you're in luck. My buddy Russell Brunson, founder of ClickFunnels, created a masterclass to share the top 3 secrets they aren't willing to share, and it's free. During this masterclass, you'll learn the number 1 funnel secrets, the number 1 conversion secrets, and the number 1 traffic secrets to help you grow your business faster than you ever could have imagined. And these secrets aren't just assumptions. They're proven by entrepreneurs whose businesses are on fire. Register for your free seat today at eofire.com/secrets and be prepared to ignite. That's eofire.com/secrets. Hiring can be difficult, but if you're a company that's currently trying to hire, you face new difficulties, from safely reopening your doors to finding the right person for a specialized role. Housing Wire could relate. They needed to hire an ambitious reporter to cover news stories on the U.S. mortgage and housing markets. So they turned to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's smart matching technology finds people with the right experience for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And that's how Housing Wire found Alexandra Roja. Alexandra never imagined she could get a reporter job in the midst of COVID-19. Hiring was frozen, and the idea of looking for a job was discouraging. So she created a profile on ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter matched Alexandra to Housing Wire's reporting job because her degree and writing skills were a great fit for the role. Housing Wire received her application only 4 hours after they posted the job, and a few weeks later, Alexandra started her dream career. ZipRecruiter helped Alexandra find the right job, and they helped Housing Wire find the right person for their role fast. See how ZipRecruiter can help you hire. Try it now for free at ziprecruiter.com/fire. That's ziprecruiter.com/fire. So Matt, we're back. And if you want to maybe wrap up that part about maybe any deceptions or underhanded tactics specifically in the payments industry, let's do that now. And then let's move on specifically to what do you do? Like get in the weeds for us and really break down, the misconceptions that some people have about your line of work because you're not a processor. So talk about that. So again, anything you want to talk about to kind of wrap up the deception, underhanded tactics part of it. And then let's move on to you and how you do what you do.
Yeah. From the deception standpoint, just be wary. Anytime you get a phone call from a merchant service company, I'm sure businesses get them all the time. Just be wary. If you have to make changes or whatnot, bat an eye at it because it could be to the point where you could be getting a bad deal by making a change. And always kind of verify, get apples to apples comparison when you're getting these quotes from other providers. You want to make sure that you're actually getting a legitimate pricing and that, you're not going to be getting additional fees by making a change. So again, I would just say to wrap it up, be very wary when you're getting those phone calls and solicitations, as I'm sure they already are,
sure,
business owners, but just be careful with that. To move on to, misconceptions about our work versus the industry. The biggest point, I want to make is that we obviously are not a credit card processor. We probably actually dislike them more than business owners do, to be honest. We are the actual ones that have to deal with them, negotiate with them, and fine tune the pricing and whatnot. And once business owners, I think I said this earlier in the podcast, hear that we are not a processor and that you do not have to change a single thing, that point can't be driven home more. Business owners understand, okay, well, what's the catch? We get that a lot. Like, well, if you're not going to change anything and you're just going to save me money, what's the catch here? And I think the beauty of the service, obviously, is that because we have to actually put our money where our mouth is, do conduct the service before even getting paid, is an attest to like, hey, we're not trying to switch anything that you have to make money in your account or anything like that. We're just trying to look to reduce your costs. And again, if we are successful, we'll be able to share within the savings. At that point, people understand more of the service. And again, it doesn't matter if you're an e-commerce business, a retail business, or you take cards over the phone, if you do majority business to business sales versus business to consumer sales. Doesn't matter the type of business, the products or service that you conduct. If you take a credit card, we can help you.
And you also work with PayPal as well, right?
PayPal, Stripe, Braintree, those are some big names that people in the e-commerce realm might be using. All of that we're able to look at and see where we can save. Absolutely.
Now let's talk about a couple case studies. Let's start off with the work you did with us, Entrepreneurs on Fire, and then let's talk about one other one so Fire Nation can kind of get a good idea of like what it looks like in the real world.
On the Fire Nation account, we did a full analysis. I believe you guys were using TSYS.
I think it was TSYS.
So we actually have a software that we're able to use. We simply drag and drop the PDF statement, put into the software, and it calculates, what you took in Visa credit card, debit card, same with MasterCard, Discover, American Express, etc. All your debit card transactions, any EBT that you do, any fleet cards that you do. And it also breaks it down into the interchange fees that are passed along from the card brands, etc. So long story short, it's just in-depth analysis. It also looks at monthly costs and whatnot. And for the On Fire podcast, the savings were pretty significant. I mean, it was 26%, 27% of the total fees that you guys were paying that we're able to save.
Again, don't make me do the math, Fire Nation. It hurts.
Yeah, I've seen worse. So you guys are actually, you're not in a terrible situation. That savings number can typically range anywhere from 20 to up to 60% is what we're able to obtain. But from a dollar perspective, we're talking about savings around $250 to $300 a month.
Every month
for your business.
Oof, I love that. I mean, literally, Fire Nation, that's car payments. That's being able to actually put that money back into marketing, like paid advertising. I mean, that's, fill in the blank. I mean, that's significant over month. So let's talk about another case study that you have. I mean, anything you want to wrap up about EO Fire, do that. And then what's the other case study you have for us?
Yeah. So another case study I want to bring is that we help a ton within healthcare, right? So for like dentists, orthodontists, we typically work with. In one specific case in particular, we're helping an orthodontist, and he has a billing software that links up with his credit card processor. And if he were to leave or change anything, he'd have to change both. He'd have to change his billing software. He'd then have to change and get all his current customers, get their credit card info because they're saved in his billing software. And to do that, it's really a pain. And obviously you don't want to ask your clients again for their credit card information. It just doesn't seem right, And he was skeptical of the service. He said, I don't know how this is possible. I'm getting a pretty good rate. That's what he was told by the representative that signed him up. I said, listen, let us just do a free audit. We'll look at it. And if there's no savings to be had, great. Then you have peace of mind. And if there is, we'll present it to you. And if those savings make sense to have another conversation, we can do that. So he sent his statements. He was actually using TSYS, so the same company that you guys had. And when we did it, the savings were pretty eye-opening. Like this guy thought he was getting a good rate. And when we did the analysis, we were able to save him $700 a month.
Wow.
And this is without him having to change his software, without him having to change TSYS. He doesn't have to call any of his patients and get their credit card information to like bill them again or do any reoccurring billing. It was just everything stays the same. And we combed through to look at the excess fees that he was being hit with. And it was eye-opening because he was like, I was under the impression that I'm getting a good price. And you're over here telling me that I can save $700 without having to do a single thing. And, for that, the percentages was probably about 40 to 42% cost savings versus like the 26 in your case.
Yeah.
But for a small business owner, like it's just him as the dentist. And then he also has his employees, but like, that's pretty huge, and it just goes to show you that just because you think you're on great pricing or that you've done this before, maybe with another credit card processor going through your statements, it's not if we can find savings, it's how much are the savings going to be and is it worth your time, to have another conversation. That's how I would view it.
And also, Fire Nation, just to kind of close this out, Matt is independent. His company is independent from these merchant processors. So, of course, when you're talking to a merchant processor, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we'll get you the best rate possible. And like, they might not be lying to you per se, or they might be, but at the end of the day, it's just like, it doesn't behoove them. Like, it behooves Matt, it behooves his company, and he's independent. Like I said, he actually is fired up against these companies because he sees what they do to small businesses every single day. So Matt, give us the one big takeaway you want to make sure Fire Nation gets from everything that we talked about today. Then share with us specifically how we can contact you to just run by you. Hey, is my business a good fit for potentially looking at this audit? And if it is, obviously Fire Nation, this is no dollars out of your pocket. This is just Matt doing what he does, letting you know what your savings could potentially be. So to me, it's just such an absolute no-brainer. So again, wrap it up. Let's talk about the one big takeaway, how Fire Nation can find and connect with you and potentially work with you. And then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Fire Nation is to understand that even if you think you have good pricing, there's no harm in doing a double check, right? And from us being an independent standpoint, with the credit card processing landscape always changing, with the rates always increasing, even if you already have a good deal and things change over time, we're talking about 3 to 6 months, it's always worth to get an audit. And if you don't have the time to comb through this stuff, look at it every month, obviously we're here to help, but that's something that you want to do if you don't do it already. And I would say the biggest takeaway is to always just, again, make sure to audit this stuff and be wary of any of the solicitations that you guys get from processors and whatnot, because they have a different agenda than what you might think. So, and
how do we contact and just communicate with you?
The best way to reach out to us is you can obviously visit our website. It's just www.merchantcostconsulting.com. And if you want to email directly, or if you have any questions or whatnot, you can actually ping me. My email is Matt, that's MATT, at merchantcostconsulting.com. So again, the website's merchantcostconsulting.com. My email is Matt at merchantcostconsulting.com if you guys have any questions or just want to ping pong anything off me of what's going on. So
Fire Nation, such a valuable offer. And I just want to say that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You've been hanging out with MR and JLD today. So keep up that heat and head over to eofire.com. Just type Matt in the search bar, and the show notes page will have everything that we talked about today. Links, you name it, it's all there. But of course, your call to action, Fire Nation, visit merchantcostconsulting.com. There's a contact form there. Fill that contact form out. Matt and his team will get back to you. Or Matt has generously offered his personal email address. So Fire Nation, use it. Take my advice, use it. Matt at merchantcostconsulting.com. Get there, Fire Nation. Start putting dollars back in your pocket. Sleep well at night knowing that you're paying the absolute lowest in the dollar amount that you should be paying, which is the lowest. And Matt, thank you for sharing your truth, your knowledge, your value with Fire Nation today. For that, we salute you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
John, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, Fire Nation, today's value bomb content was brought to you by Matt. And if you're ready to rock your own podcast, all you got to do is check out freepodcastcourse.com. It is what it sounds like, a completely free podcasting course that I created for you to teach you how to create and launch your podcast. Check it out, Fire Nation, and I'll catch you there, or I'll catch you on the flippity flip side. Fire Nation, you can't make consistent revenue if you don't have a funnel that converts. Join the founder of ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, for a free masterclass to learn the 3 secrets that will ignite your revenue in 2020. Register today at eofire.com/secrets. That's eofire.com/secrets.